Okay, I had the kids read the goals here, the objectives, and it seems to be about the quadratic formula and the discriminant and about the solutions to quadratics. So I'm going to show you just with a quick overview. Just watch quick. Would you agree that that is supposed to be a parabola and it seems like it just touches once right there? Do you get if I'd have gone a little lower that it would have touched twice? And if I would have gone a little higher, it wouldn't have touched at all? So that means there's only one solution for this black one here. There'd be two solutions for this blue one. And there would be no solutions for this green one. It just doesn't touch the x-axis. It still has a vertex, but it doesn't have any solutions, it's called. That means this has two imaginary solutions. All right, now, looking at them, it's so obvious. Like if I say, how many solutions does this have? You'll be like, it's got two. It's easy, right? But what if I just give you the equation for it? Because sometimes I can't even tell. If I look at this equation, I'm not sure exactly where this thing would be. But I could tell what its discriminant is, and that would tell me. All right, so everybody start. Let's actually make this a little nicer. We're going to make this a 4. Okay, so write that equation. Now, do you know the quadratic formula? Because everything for this whole unit is based on the quadratics, and the quadratic formula is a big deal. Copy it. X equals negative b. Please write this. Plus or minus the square root. And I'm changing colors because that blue part there, b squared minus 4ac, it's not only the most difficult part of the quadratic formula, where most kids make their mistakes on the quadratic formula, it's also called the discriminant, and it's got a special role. All right, first thing I want you to do is realize this part that I'm highlighting right now in green, x equals negative b over 2a, just that part, the beginning and the end. Do you agree that you learned negative b over 2a did something? What does it do again?
The axis of symmetry.
Axis of symmetry, and then that leads you to starts with a v, the vertex. All right. So that blue part there, would you agree if that blue part, this part I'm shading right now, if that part was negative, you'd have the square root of a negative, and you wouldn't have any actual solutions anymore. They wouldn't be real. You'd have to use imaginary numbers. Do you get if that part's negative? You know that there's no real answers? That's the kind where if I drew you a picture of it, it'd be like this. It doesn't have x-intercepts. So if this under here is negative, then there's no solutions. There's no real solutions, just two imaginary ones. Why two imaginary? Because it'll always be plus and minus of whatever that square root is. Okay, do you agree though that sometimes what's underneath in that root there, that b squared minus 4ac, sometimes that's positive. And in that case, you get two answers. And the last thing, it's either negative or it's positive, right? Or wait, well, there's something in between. If it's not negative, it's not positive. What is it? 0. If this part right here is 0, then the square root of 0 happens. And that's just 0. And then adding or subtracting 0 doesn't do anything to your answer. And look, you're left with that, which is the vertex. So when this thing is either one of three things, it's either positive, negative, or it's 0. And this is the part where you need to write this down. Everybody make a list. Either D, which is our shortcut for discriminant, is bigger than 0, in which case there's two solutions, like a normal parabola. SOLN is a good shortcut for solution. D is less than 0. What did I say about the solutions then?
Wait, what's the 2S?
You're not copying this. Copy it. I'm telling you, this little list is what we use all day today. You got to get it copied. What?
What's that saying? Is that
2 SOLN, that's shortcut for solutions. And D is shortcut for discriminant. We're not going to ever ask you to spell it, so D is good enough. So either d is greater than 0, in which case the thing under the root is positive, and you get two solutions. D is less than 0, and you get no solutions. Or what was the third case? D equals 0, and then this whole square root disappears, and you're left with just negative b over 2a, which is the vertex. So there's one solution. Vertex. Okay. So imagine for a second I gave you this equation. Negative 6 plus and minus the square root of 36 all over 2. I can tell you right now how many solutions it has. How many solutions would that have? 2. Because this thing was positive. What if I said it was negative 36? No solutions. It's only got imaginary solutions, which you have I in your answer, okay? Or it could be 0. What if this whole thing was 0? There's one solution, and it is the vertex. Okay. So I started with this, and I said, how many solutions would this have? Well, I guess we got to do b squared minus 4ac. You don't have to do, some kids actually like to do the whole discriminant, the whole quadratic formula, but it's kind of wasting time. It's not wasting much time though. I'm just going to do the whole quadratic formula briefly here. Negative b would be 4 plus and minus the square root of b squared, which is 16, minus 4 times 2 times 5, all over 2a, which is 2 times 2. But that's overkill, because the discriminant is just this part. Do you get, you could have just saved some work if you'd just done that part. So the discriminant, in this case, was it positive? Was it negative? Well, let's actually do it. What's 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 5 is 40. What's 16 minus 40? Well, would you agree it's negative at least? So it's negative. If the d is less than 0, if it's negative, what do we know about the solutions? No solutions. So now I know this has no solutions. That means if I graphed it, it wouldn't touch the x-axis. So what was the discriminant, Mr. Server? It's 16 minus 40. I believe that's 24. Negative 24. Does that sound right? So the discriminant was negative 24. And the way you'd answer the question is D was negative 24. And I'm going to teach you something that'll save you some time. You guys know that triangle means change from science, don't you? Triangle means change in? Okay. Yep, delta is the way they would say it. And if you make just 3 dots, did you know that also has a meaning? It means therefore. D is negative 24. Therefore, no solutions. That's how you answer the questions. You say what the discriminant is, and then you say what that means. All right. Give you another one. Y equals x squared minus 6x minus 2. Would you please figure out how many solutions that has? I don't need to know the solutions. I just need to know how many it's going to have. So we're going to ask you for tell the discriminant and then tell what it means. Brody, what's that formula for discriminant again?
B squared minus 42.
Correct. In this case, that's negative 6 squared, which is 36 minus 4 times 1 times negative 2. I'm going to put it in parentheses just to make it clear that that's a multiply. Do you get there's 2 negatives in there, and therefore it's 36 plus 8? So final answer, 36 plus 8 is 44, I think? Okay, cool. Now what does that mean? 2 solutions. Now, if anybody made me actually give the solutions, I just want to show you how easy it would be. Well, then I'd be like, well, so you really wanted me to do the whole quadratic formula. So then that's, well, negative b, which would be 6, plus or minus. And the cool thing is I already did all of that. It's 44. You know what I mean? I'm just copying that in. All over 2a, which is 2 times 1, which is 2. There's my answers. Now, a lot of kids got stumped on the homework when they asked for that as a decimal. Do you get, I don't expect you to know square root of 44 in your head? Nobody knows the square root of 44 in their head. So then what do you have to use? Some sort of calculator. You could use your iPad's calculator, it'd be fine. And then I'm going to just use Siri. What is the square root of 44? 6.6332. 6.6332. So then what do? Well, you do it twice. You do it once with a plus, and then you do it once with a minus. So this is the first time I would write this answer in. To put it into Schoology, you're going to go 6 plus 6.6332 over 2, and I can get a decimal for that. Here, let me show you. What is 6 plus 6.6332? What is 12.6332 divided by 2? 6.3116. That's my first answer. And then I'm going to do it again, except with a minus right there. What is 6 minus 6.6332? What is negative 0.6332 divided by 2? Negative 0.31. And it asks you for like a certain number of decimal places. And I get how it's kind of a pain in the butt, but you're just going to use a calculator to do it. It's not that hard. The nice part is that I didn't have to simplify it because I could use the calculator. See, otherwise you'd add to make this into like root 4 and root 11 and then do that whole simplify deal. When they use decimals, it's easier. You just use the calculator. Let's make sure you get that. Everybody take a second, and you can use your calculator on your iPad to learn how to do square root with it if you would. If nothing else, you can press the button and use Siri. It's legal to do. Okay, and then get the answer to this. What is 2 plus and minus the square root of 7 over 3? There's 2 answers. They're decimals. And let's give 3 decimal places. Imagine a kid who typed in 2 plus, and then for, here, what is the square root of 7? 2.6457. If you're concerned about like what to round to, you shouldn't round anyway until the very end? Just kind of put in as many decimals as you can, and then at the very end, when you're done, and you're writing your answer down, then consider rounding it. But do you get if right here a kid just wrote exactly this into their calculator? Do you get the calculator would think you should divide those 2 first and then add 2, and it should be totally different?
You have to put parentheses.
Exactly. So be careful with that. As you're typing this in, you need this part to either be done, like hit enter before you get that answer, or put it in parentheses. Get the 2 answers, write them down right now, and I want to see if you get it. I'm going to ask you to show me, and I'll see if yours is the same as what everybody else got. Hint, I'm getting 1.5 as one of my answers. 1.5-ish. Definitely more decimal places than that. If you're not using it, you're going to lose it. But which won't in your backpack lose it. I'll use it in a few minutes when we're done, which we are almost done. All right. Actually, just you got your two answers. Excellent. All right. Get the final answer after you've divided by, what was the bottom number? Was it 3? Okay. Get that final answer as a decimal. Write down those two answers and compare with the kid sitting next to you.
You get negative.
Why? I'm still doing division.
One of them is negative, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, one of mine.
Okay. All right, so here's what I was getting. 1 point something. John Paul, would you read me your 1 point something answer?
Yeah, 1.549.
Can anybody verify 1.549? Okay, good. And the other one was negative point something. Now, usually there's kids that want to put a 0 point something. It's fine, but that 0 in front of the decimal is optional. So, John Paul, would you just read the other one? Point.
Yeah, negative 0.215.
Anybody verify the 215 answer?
Yep.
Okay, good. There you go. If you didn't get those, you typed it in wrong. Just know that you need to fix that before you put them into Schoology. All right, next one. And this is kind of a neato puzzle. If I said 4 plus and minus the square root of 20 all over 2, I can tell from that what the equation was. Do you get this as the quadratic formula? Who can tell me what b must have been? Say it if you know it. B must have been negative 4 because, you know, that's negative b. All over 2a, well, what did a have to be?
1.
Then the only hard part is that this is an amalgamation of b squared minus 4ac, and it all equaled 20, and that's too complicated. But we already know what a is, don't we? And we already know what b is, don't we? So then can't you solve for c? Sure you could. If a is 1, put in a 1 here, and I don't know c, but I know b is negative 4. Then this would be 16 minus 4 times 1 times c equals 20. And if you can't solve that, you shouldn't be in honors. You just have to subtract 16, divide by negative 4. You'll get an answer. And you'll know what c was. Okay, so moral of the story. Do you get this is enough evidence to work it backwards and figure out what the equation was? All right, there's a question like that. And this is the part where I think you're ready. I think we'll find out. So everybody open up the Schoology quiz. And the first one is a bunch of matching problems. And it's like, does this have 0 or 1 solution? The ones that look like this, they have no solutions. The ones that look like this, they have 1 solution because they just touch once. And it's the vertex. You know, if it ever is 1 solution, it's the vertex of the parabola. Remember that deal? If there was only 1 solution, it was the vertex. And last but not least, the ones that look like this, they have 2 solutions. So then the discriminant on this kind must be less than 0. The discriminant on this kind, do you remember the one that had only 1 and it was the vertex? And then what was the discriminant on that? 0. And last but not least, this one we had the discriminant where you get 2 answers. What was that discriminant? Positive or negative? Positive. So the positive kind, they have 2 solutions. The negative kind, like the blue one, they don't have solutions. They have no, their discriminant is negative and they have no solutions. And then the red kind, that has 1 solution, and it's the vertex, when the discriminant is 0. All right, so that little drawing I just made you will help you answer the first one, because it's matching, and everybody's problems are maybe in a different order, so you eventually get that matching question. I can't tell if I think that they swapped the order of the problems, so maybe that's not your first one. All right. So, I'm sure there's somebody out there who's sitting on a first one and they're like, I don't even know how to start this. Would you please raise your hand and tell me the problem, and I'll happily show you how to start it on the board. This is how you do the matching one when you get there. Is there any other one that you're on? Want some help on? All right, so basically it's about finding the discriminant, which is this part right here. One important thing, don't include the root. The discriminant does not get square rooted. It's just this part, not the square root. That's a discriminant. And then once you know the discriminant, you can say, therefore, there's no answers or one answer or two answers. All right, I think that's it. Now I think this is the part where if you get stuck, you should come up and ask me. I'll happily help you. And I'm gonna not actually stop and save this until later in case a kid comes up with a really good question and then I can add to the video. So I'm gonna pause, and then if I don't end up adding any more, that means I felt like the video was good enough.